if you are a very technical person thinking, I can never grow my company, let other people do it, you'll never grow otherwise.
Welcome to the Machine Shop Mastery Podcast, where we uncover the stories behind successful machine shops and their owners. By interviewing current and former shop owners, we dig deep to unveil their secrets of success and the struggles and challenges they've overcome on their paths to building thriving shops. We aim to elevate how important the machining industry is and inspire others by highlighting why owning a shop can be a great vehicle to creating jobs, stimulating the economy, and creating wealth. Here's our host, former machine shop owner himself, Paul Van Meter.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Machine Shop Mastery Podcast. I just got finished having a wonderful conversation with Kika Young, the president of Forest City Gear. This is a third-generation business doing just gears, nothing beyond gears and shaping and hobbing and that sort of thing. So extreme specialization, as she calls it. And being third generation, there's a lot of interesting stories, from the founding story of her grandfather to her dad taking it over, to her taking it over after they decided not to sell the business and had actually pursued that path pretty heavily after some stuff that happened in the family, which you will hear about shortly when we get into the episode. But Kika is clearly a very skilled leader. She clearly understands the business super well, cares about the people, lives the values, it drives sales and marketing, doing a lot of things right to grow this business to 123 people, I think she said, as of today. So it is a super engaging conversation. I know there's some things you're going to take away from it. So without further ado, let us dig in here to this conversation with Kika. Good morning, or maybe good afternoon to you, Kika. How are you doing?
It is afternoon. I am doing great. We got a lot of snow this weekend, and so I'm fully recovered from shoveling. Although, to be fair, I didn't do much of the shoveling at all.
And you got your fun festive holiday sweater on.
Yeah.
So you're in Christmas mode over there.
Yeah, sure am.
And over there is it's in Ohio, is that right? Exactly.
No, we are right on the Illinois-Wisconsin border, about 90 miles northwest of Chicago. So if you draw a Milwaukee, Madison, Chicago triangle, we're right in the middle of that triangle.
Okay, very good. So, Kika, why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of Forest City Gear? It's a long history, so I know it might take a little bit, but maybe even before you do that, give us a snapshot of exactly what your company does, the approximate size, and what you specialize in.
Yeah, Forest City Gear is a machine shop. We are different from a lot of contract machine shops or job shops in that gear cutting isn't just one of the many services we offer. Gear cutting is the service we offer. So we specialize in a super precise space for custom, loose, precision gear fabrication. We have two different sides of the business, make complete and cut teeth only. So for cut teeth only, the customers are sending us their material, their blank, their gear donut, if you will. We're cutting the teeth and sending it right back. We love that work because it's in and out super fast and we can serve our customers really well there. The other half of our business is make complete, but still individual loose gearing, maybe some very small sub-assembly work.
Got it.
But for the most part, individual loose gearing, where we're sourcing the bar stock, cutting down the bar stock, turning the blank, doing any secondary operations, milling, cylindrical grinding. We do outsource for some things like heat treat and plating, some special processes, but most of that work we're doing in-house. So that's kind of our small little gear world that we live inside of, custom fabricated loose gearing.
Okay. And at first I was like, what does loose gearing mean? But then you're talking about individual gears.
Yes.
And I'm like, I know the tolerances aren't loose, but
no,
what are we talking about?
Are very precise.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
we're not doing,
gears.
when I say loose, I mean, we're not doing like a gearbox.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Sure. Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
I love the specialty. We'll get into more of that a little later. And let's go back and learn about the history. This company has a rich history. So why don't you tell us about it?
So I am proud to say that I am a third generation owner of Forest City Gear. My paternal grandparents, Stetler and Evelyn Young, founded Forest City Gear in 1955. That story is actually pretty cool if you like history.
Yeah.
So Stetler, my dad's dad, was kind of from a silver spoon family. They owned the Pennsylvania Montoursville State Banks. I don't think he worked a lot growing up, not real high expectations, educated, but not maybe not a really hard worker. The Great Depression happened. Mm-hmm. Those banks went under.
Oh, wow.
He went from having everything to nothing, ended up in Chicago, which is where he met Evelyn, selling encyclopedias door to door.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Wow. After, just really silver spoon, not having, the fun third generation of a East Coast banking family. And all of a sudden he's schlepping encyclopedias door to door. So he hates that, but he did meet Evelyn there because she was a secretary for the encyclopedia company in downtown Chicago. Ends up getting a gas station job, a job at a gas station.
Okay. Yeah.
An old school gas station where they're pumping the gas for you and also doing some medium to moderate mechanic work. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is where he discovers that he's actually pretty mechanically minded and has a decent mind for this type of thing. So one of the customers at this gas station, which now they're outside of Chicago, says, "Hey, I own this little gear company down in Sterling, Illinois. You should come work at it for me. You're pretty mechanical." So he goes down to Sterling, Illinois, drags Evelyn with him, and after not that long, ends up as vice president of Rhinell Gear in Sterling, Illinois. For whatever reason, the owners decided to close that company, and two of the former customers of Rhinell contact him and said, "Hey, we still need gears." So Stetler manages to convince a couple neighbors and friends. He had to get together $7,000 to buy a couple used manual gear machines, which were literally just in his garage. Mm-hmm. And he started making parts for those two customers. And, like they say, the rest is history.
Paul, tell me about your trip to Italy.
I went there with the NTMA and we got to tour SMW Autoblok, 2 different facilities. Absolutely blew me away. World-class, enormous places. I can't even count how many machines there were, but so much automation. One of the most incredible takeaways for me was the breadth of what they made. I did not know they made so many work-holding products and automation products. And I loved watching a big chuck machine a little chuck. So they were machining chucks in huge lathes. I thought that was super fun.
Yeah, you introduced them to me after you came back, and they've been to my shop. And the ideas they have to breathe new life into some of my machines and the tools and the jobs that we're running was just shocking.
And then one of the coolest things is we're bringing this new automated pallet delivery system, the Hennig workflow, to market. And guess what the interface is? It's SMW 0-point locators. It's really sweet.
We're getting ready to get some of those.
So how do people find SMW Autoblok to look through that massive catalog of products?
It's SMW Autoblok, BLOK.com.
Yeah, get rid of that, Steve. SMW Autoblok, BLOK.com.
I love the garage stories. It's so good. That's so great. Wow, that's amazing. What a roller coaster ride to go from, upper middle class, upper class maybe, to selling encyclopedias to
getting 10
discovered. Yeah, right. Oh man, wow, that's very cool. And then, so the couple gear machines for $7,000, which I'm sure back then was quite a bit more. But tell us how that turned into, over many decades, the company you have today.
Yeah, so that was in 1955. So we're getting toward the end of 2025, which marks our 70th year in business.
Amazing.
My dad was 12 when my grandparents founded Forest City Gear in 1955.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, when my dad, who was an only child, started to get involved in the business. He went to college. He served in the Navy and was mostly disinterested. He was a real
Sure.
avid outdoorsman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think kind of felt a little bit of obligation. He used to say that he walked in the back door as his parents walked out the front. They were older, especially his dad was a little bit older when he was born. So they were very antsy to have him come back and learn the business. And he was not an engineer. He was an English lit major and ended up taking Forest City Gear under 5 decades of leadership literally out of this world.
Wow.
With just focusing and keeping his head down on that really niche business. This is what we're good at. This is what we do. This is what we know. And we're not going outside the lane on that.
Incredible. Wow. And so he just found he had a real passion for it once he got into it, even though he was disinterested as a young person.
Yeah. Yeah. He really had I would say a creative engineer's mind versus maybe a more structured or rigid approach to that, and found out that he was really, really good at understanding the speeds and feeds and cycle times needed to, figure out what kind of margin you're gonna make on a part and those types of things, especially on the estimating side.
Yeah,
And he was a very, very gregarious man who loved to travel. So it was easy for him to go drum up customers in all reaches of the world. So it served Forest City Gear well, his kind of unique nature and unique approach to the business.
And do you recall about what size it was or number of people when he took over, when your grandparents kind of exited?
Yeah, I think there were about 12 people at that time.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And then tell us about your involvement.
Sure. So I like to joke, except it's not really a joke. I'm one of 3 daughters, and Fred just really wanted an only son. So I became that for him.
Okay.
No, Fred was not, he was very supportive of all 3 of us. Both of my sisters have more talent in their pinky fingers than I have in my entire body. They're both art majors, super skilled musicians, skilled artists. Today, one does real estate and interior design, and the other is a professional photographer. And I was, pretty good at a standardized test. So it was easy to push me into this line of work because they had really wonderful assets and skills outside of kind of the mundane business day to day. So I started working. There's no child labor laws for ownership and direct lineage of ownership. So I started working at Forest City Gear and probably truly working and maybe partially earning a paycheck, maybe in 6th grade.
Okay. Nights and weekends after school and
painting the fence, cleaning out chip buckets, weeding the flower beds.
Sure.
Yeah. Changing the ink toners. Feels like in the late 90s through the early to mid 2000s, ink toner changing was far more time consuming than it is now.
Well, we won't get into the whole paperless shop floor thing today, but so you were perhaps reluctantly learning a work ethic and how to work hard and all the things that go into running a business.
Yeah. I love the shop. I love the industry. The gear industry itself is kind of a strange little world that I love. And, having the luxury of being able to grow up in that and know a lot of these folks from the time I was a kid has really made those relationships as an adult and reaching out to another machine shop or maybe somebody who I'm buying a gear machine from a lot easier. Those relationships are a lot easier having the luxury of that history.
That's amazing. Did you love working there from the earliest ages, or did you learn to love it a little bit later?
I loved it when I was young. And then there was maybe a period from the time I was maybe 17 to 19, a couple of years in there, where I thought, I need to do my own thing. This was decided for me too long ago. I'm going to do something different. And then kind of came full circle on that pretty quickly.
You went and did something different for a little bit?
Yeah, I worked at a church.
Okay.
Yeah. While I was in college full time, and then I
Sure.
also got my MBA.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I love those stories when somewhat, yours isn't exactly parallel, but we've had so many on this show where disinterested, family members end up absolutely just loving it and just embracing it wholeheartedly. Yeah. That's wonderful. And so when did you take the full reins?
Sure. So, that is also a little bit of a story. So, my mom started working at Forest City Gear in a full-time capacity, well, in a part-time capacity and then full-time capacity about the same time as I did. So, I started in a true and regular full-time capacity in 2004, which is about when she started in a regular part-time capacity. And then we both started full-time in 2009. So that was an interesting trajectory. She had been a stay-at-home mom, super educated, super, super intelligent, had not worked in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a little bit of a competitive edge between the two of us for a while. She was 10 years younger than my dad. And so unexpectedly, my dad was 10 years older. Unexpectedly, our dad ended up with dementia, and our mom ended up with stage 4 cancer at the same time. I know.
At the same time. Oh,
at the same time. So
Kika,
the day that COVID became a thing, and we got the call from my kid's school that they were canceling school indefinitely, was the day we got her cancer diagnosis.
Oh, wow.
I know. It was terrible.
It's like the world was collapsing around you. Yeah.
Cancer and COVID at the same time was not cool. So that to say, we spent the next couple of years as it became clear that, both of them were not going to be around as long term as we had hoped, truly exploring a sale. We hired an investment banker and hosted several interested parties here at Forest City Gear, really looking to sell the company. My dad, of course, Forest City Gear, was his other baby, other than the three of us girls and maybe fishing.
Okay.
So he would have loved to see the legacy stay alive. But my mom just was so worried that it would come between us girls and that it would create angst if one of us was here running it and the other two weren't as involved.
Mm-hmm.
So we really went through the motions. My mom passed away. We had kind of verbally accepted an offer or indicated that we would likely accept. And it kind of got down to the 11th hour. And actually, my older sister, Appy, said, "Hey, it feels like none of us are very excited about this. And we're all feeling really sad and like we'll mourn this, the same as a family member. Can we just not sell?" And so it was, my dad was still alive at that time. And it was my sister Appy, my sister Mindy, and I sitting around the table. And my dad goes, "Yes." And my younger sister was also excited at the thought to keep it. And so I had been interim president for a few years at that time. And on that day, we decided not to sell the company. Then I became permanent in my current role. So that was in 2022, early spring of 2022. And then my dad made it a little more than a year. So I'm happy that he lived to see that.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
What a turning point to make that decision. If your older sister hadn't said that, do you think you would have proceeded to a sale?
Absolutely. I wasn't being the one that's here, and we were equal shareholders. We are equal shareholders.
Okay.
Being the one that was here, I would not have pushed for that because I wouldn't have wanted to do something that would have, maybe felt like it was benefiting me more important to me, or
Right.
because I didn't want what my mom was afraid of to come true. I didn't want it to come between us girls because the three of us are super tight. So, yeah, if she hadn't said it, we probably would have sold.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for her. And obviously your dad was still clear-headed enough at that point that...
Yeah, he never got so bad that he didn't know, who he was, who we were, what Forest City Gear was.
Sure.
It was kind of short-term stuff. So, yeah, he was still totally lucid enough for that. Yeah.
Well, that's a blessing. Okay. Wow. What a story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And how many folks work there today at Forest City Gear?
I think our current roster is at 123 people today.
That's a big organization.
Yeah.
Wow. And so was it similar sized about 2-3 years ago, or have you grown a lot in the last few years?
No, we've grown a lot in the past few years. We're up about 15% from last year, and have had some year-over-year growth. COVID obviously threw a little bit of a wrench in that, but yeah, we've been on a great growth trajectory, and one that feels a manageable growth trajectory. So I'm feeling really excited and really proud of the team here that's been allowing us to reach some new goals. It's pretty cool.
Wow. So maybe it goes without saying, because I don't know if when looking at this podcast and deciding whether to do it, looked at my background, but I used to own a machine shop as well. And we did sell that business. We had about 75 people at the time, but it is a major process to go through, especially if you've hired an investment banker and invested all the money in the marketing and all the things that goes into that. But, that is also, even if you were 25% smaller than you are today, that's a pretty big, valuable company. Like, that's a major decision whether to keep doing it or, take the payout of selling such a valuable asset. So that's not a thing to be taken lightly. It's not like you guys had like 20 or 30 people that you were thinking about, Right. It was a big entity.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious if you can share. So it sounds like you and your sisters are all kind of equal owners. Did you guys sort of buy out your parents, or was it gifted? I mean, I know a lot of family transitions go through the process trying to understand how should they do it, and should they have lawyers and bankers and accountants all helping them figure this all out, and what's fair? Can you share anything about kind of your process and how you decided that?
Yeah, I will say the thing that made it easiest for us as third generation owners was the luxury of my dad being an only child, to be honest.
Right.
So if my dad had siblings and we had 11 other cousins, that we were competing with, I think the viewpoint would be a lot different. So I am paid, of course, as an employee of Forest City Gear, and then am a shareholder of Forest City Gear. And the way my grandparents had originally set things up would be that it would be gifted to us if it was not sold prior to that.
Okay.
But in equal shares.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, good for them to have that foresight.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. So, you specialize specifically in loose gears, either turnkey or, your customers send you the donuts. Tell us about, And maybe if you haven't spent a lot of time in a traditional machine shop, but what's different for those maybe not as accustomed to the exact details of what that that type of manufacturing? Obviously, you have hobbing machines and gear cutting machines. Maybe educate us all a little bit on what goes into making those products.
Yes. So gear cutting, teeth cutting, tooth cutting is different than maybe some traditional contract manufacturing. So typically there's more math, right? There's a lot more GD&T to pay attention to when tooth cutting. We cut gears via a hobbing machine, you're right, which is a horizontal way to go in and out around the teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Gear shaping machines, which is similar to hobbing, except it's vertical.
Okay.
And then gear grinding, like form grinding. So there's a diamond dressing wheel that comes in and out of the part, typically on a horizontal axis.
Mm-hmm.
So we do those 3 types of gear cutting in-house, but the shop math is a lot more difficult. The other part about gear cutting machines, if you think of a CNC mill or CNC lathe, or even a 5-axis machine that can do some tooth cutting.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, those are programmed by an engineer offline, right? Those are programmed in a computer program in an office, right? Then fed to the machine.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe your machinist then is making some offsets or some minor edits to the G code, right?
Yep.
With a gear machine, there is no offline programming. You're entering all of the gear datum and all of the formulas at the machine. So the type of machinist that is going to be setting up the gear machines is sometimes a different breed, and a little bit more of an artist. It's definitely more akin to, and even though we have almost all CNC machines, it's more akin to kind of the old manual way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're figuring out the geometry at the machine.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So they are CNC machines, but it's still just all the parameters are held right in the controller with the customized cutters for that specific gear pitch or size or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a proud mom, right? Of course I am biased, but I think the gearheads, all gearheads, but especially the FCG gearheads, are some of the greatest minds in the world.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Well, I'm sure that pride is well justified. So a company doesn't get to the size that you guys are without doing a lot of things really well. What has been the driver of that growth and allowing you to, maybe the company had periods where it had ups and downs, but every company does. But that's you're definitely much larger than the average shop out there. So tell us some of the secrets that have helped you get to that size.
I mean, the main secret is extreme specialization. In an average gearbox in a motor, maybe you have, I don't know what average would be, 30 or 40 gears. And perhaps the majority of those, based on the design, you can order straight out of a catalog. There are a lot of great catalog gear suppliers that even have some minor specialty modifications. Ash gear is an example of that. So maybe of 30 gears, maybe 26 you can order out of a gear catalog. But maybe because of noise requirements or torque or speed or whatever, you need some custom designed gears for your end application. So those 4 custom designed gears are where we step in. And then based on our size range that we do, we would be even more specialized. But we're doing a higher class of gear. There's the AGMA, which is the American Gear Manufacturers Association. They class the gears. So because of how great the technology we have is, we probably couldn't cut lower than a 7 or 8 class if we wanted to.
Is that out of a 10 scale?
I think it's out of a 14, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the class just has to do with the tolerances and the hardnesses and just the tolerances. Okay.
It's the tolerances. Yeah.
Got it. Interesting. And tolerance affects sound. I guess you said noise. Like
For sure.
The tighter it is, the smoother it runs, and the less rattle or noise. Like, is that?
Well, right. You don't want it too tight.
Sure.
Then
You
you
want to
would
bind
get
it or
more of
create
a
heat.
rattle. So it's got to be just the right mesh is what we would call that. It's got to be just the right mesh. So, for example, I thought this was super interesting when I learned it. Forest City Gear does not do any automotive parts for a variety of reasons, but we do not do automotive because we do not want to do automotive. Okay. There's not a lot of margins. The customers tend to be difficult. It's just not in our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So several years back, right, as the EV thing is getting bigger and bigger and Congress is pushing it and all that, we have automotive guys banging down our doors, begging us to do automotive gearing, which I thought was very, very peculiar because we're quite expensive to do automotive gearing. Usually they're going to favor the cheaper stuff.
Yeah.
Well, in an electric vehicle, there is no combustion engine to hide the noise of loud, rattly, cheap gears.
Oh,
So
interesting.
all of a sudden, even though there are far fewer gears in an electric vehicle versus a traditional combustion engine, they were wanting very high-end, very quiet gears because you don't have the clinkety clank of a gas or a combustion engine or diesel to hide that noise. And I thought that was so interesting.
That is super fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, way fewer gears, as you said. There's no transmissions with a 5-speed or a whatever 10-speed these days. But yeah, no, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And you decided not to pursue automotive even in the electric era. It just was still the same challenges with margin and all those things.
We will do no, they would have loosened up their margin stuff for those some of those parts, but we still didn't. The certification for that is TS. We weren't interested in obtaining that, and part of our kind of core value, core competence, and our approach to business is not being beholden to any one customer. And if you're going to work for an automotive giant, even with a job shop of our large size, you're going to become beholden to that customer. And we just didn't want that many eggs in one basket.
What is up, Metalworking Nation, Making Chips family? It is an even year, which means IMTS is coming. September 14th through 19th at McCormick Place in beautiful Chicago. It is the largest manufacturing trade show in North America, bringing together thousands of manufacturers, OEMs, and solution providers every 2 years to explore how new technologies are being applied to real shop floors. So whether you're planning future capital investments, benchmarking operations, or simply trying to cut through the noise around emerging technologies, IMTS is designed to help manufacturers make better, more informed decisions. Whether you've been going for years or this might be your first time, put it on your calendar right now. Schedule your time away from the shop. It's good to get out and see new things. It's going to be a big party. I hope to see you there. Go to imts.com and register today. That's super smart. Yeah, one of the questions on my list is how diversified is your client base? And so tell us maybe what are the major end applications for your gears?
So outer space and aerospace, commercial aerospace, aviation is our probably biggest end sector. Okay. So both deep space and orbital space.
Isn't that fun to say outer space gears?
Yeah, it is. It is. And, Forest City gears have been in outer space for well over 2 decades at this point, pushing on 3.
Incredible. Yeah.
So we were truly frontiers in that industry. So it's been exciting.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And then, tell us about diversification. Well, maybe beyond the space and aerospace. Do you have other end markets as well?
Yeah. So between outer space and aerospace, that's probably about 40% of our business for those two industries. And then the other 60%, there's an ebb and flow in any given year. Robotics, industrial food equipment. Think like big, huge can openers or big, huge industrial panini presses when they're making 30 paninis at one time. We have a fair amount in medical and instrumentation.
Cool.
and a lot of that is overlapping now with robotics. The medical robotics have their own category. And of course,
Sure.
military and defense would be a huge industry for us.
Got it. Yep. And a growing one, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned extreme specialization, but just because a company does extreme specialization doesn't mean they're going to grow a ton, right? You got to be out there, sales and marketing. And maybe it was the legacy your dad created, being very gregarious and going out and visiting customers all the time. Tell us about what you've done in that area of the business to help drive, top line revenue.
Yeah. So my dad was for sure out pounding on doors. I mean, dragging me into shops as a kid and my sisters, especially if they were anywhere near a trout stream. And we never had true inside sales. We had a kind of a network of reps. As I took over, the first areas I took over at Forest City Gear were human resources and marketing.
Okay.
And in the past 15 years in particular, and maybe even 20, I would go maybe as far back as 20. And then it was like ultra amplified through COVID. People don't want you to visit them anymore. People certainly don't want you cold calling to sell encyclopedias or gears or anything else. And so what a traditional sales approach looked like to me started to change when thinking that we're not selling a product per se. I mean, we are making something, but we're really selling more of a service. We don't have a catalog. We're making their idea possible. So I'm thinking of that as more of a service than a product, even though there is a physical product.
Yeah.
And they might only need me once every year or two, but I want them to think of me first. So we switched all of our dollars away from outside reps, away from inside sales, and we put all of our dollars into marketing because that brand recognition and name recognition is super important. And I had something that was really, really easy to build on because of my dad's gregarious nature. And how well known he was in the kind of gear circles and gear industry. And it became really important to me to just do everything I could to parlay that brand recognition he had already started into an even bigger and more amplified space, so that when these huge companies can't get a gear made correctly, the only place people tell them to go is Forest City Gear.
And yeah, what channels? How do you get that message out?
Yeah, so we're constantly refining that. Shows is part of it. There is a really great, the AGMA, which I referenced earlier, which is part of the MPMA Motion and Power group. They put on a great biannual show that is pretty motion, and there's a whole area for the gear wing, motion centric and gear centric. That's very helpful to us and building those relationships with those people. Probably 30 to 40% of our customers can either do their own gear cutting in-house. Maybe they're a larger company that does their own gear cutting themselves or a portion of it.
Yep.
And if they run into a problem with making the parts, or they're too hard of parts for them, or maybe their machine crashes, we'll do their gear cutting for them. Or other gear companies who are contract machine houses just like us will get maybe a 12 part number order that they've accepted, but maybe they can only actually make 6 of those parts because they don't have the super awesome cap gear grinder that I have. So then they'll make the donuts, right, or the shafts or whatever it is, and send them to us to do the gear cutting only.
Okay. So shows sounds like a pretty important channel for finding new prospects.
Yeah. And, LinkedIn and different targeted online advertising. We try to have a strong presence in different gear-centric training circles. So there are different gear schools throughout the nation.
Okay.
Gleason makes big gear cutting tools, but they also have a cutting tool facility like 7 miles down the road from us just by chance.
Okay.
And they host a gear school a couple times a year. So we make sure we have a strong presence at that. Also, it's a great investment in our people to send them to these training things all the time.
Sure.
But having our folks present at those where a lot of buyers are going builds that brand recognition and brand awareness, because there's always Forest City Gear people at all the gear things. So maybe right now they're an entry-level process engineer at whatever, corporation they're at, but they will remember from that class, oh, for those Forest City Gear guys knew what they were talking about. Oh, Forest City Gear has people there.
I like that.
Yeah.
So you said buyers of gears, but you didn't mean purchasing agents. You meant like engineers that might be working in a large company that can cut their own gears.
Correct.
But
So oftentimes we obviously end up working with purchasing agents all the time, which is great. But a lot of times their engineering groups are dictating that they're coming to us. They're saying, for these ones, you have to go to FCG. For these, we have to go here.
Okay. In your specialized niche of these, higher end gears, how many real competitors do you have? Do you have hundreds, thousands, or dozens?
Not dozens even. There's a guy in California who's pretty darn good.
Okay.
There's a guy in New York who's pretty darn good.
Okay.
There's a couple throughout the States that maybe have, there's a guy up in Milwaukee who's great in hobbing, but doesn't do the shaping and grinding. There's a guy in Texas who's great at grinding, but not the hobbing or shaping. So there are pockets of excellence that compete with us, but it's not, there's plenty of work to go around.
Got it. Okay. Well, that in and of itself is fascinating and probably speaks to that importance of extreme specialization, right? Versus being a jack of all trades job shop that's trying to compete across multiple different specialties.
Yeah. Pick what you're really, really good at and just focus on it and make everybody you work with really, really good at it.
Yeah. Okay. That is excellent. And I love the just sort of organic nature of your marketing and just being everywhere. It sounds like that people are at shows and training and do you advertise like in specialty magazines that buyers might be reading or engineers might be reading?
Yeah, we there are 2 gear books, Gear Technology and Gear Solutions. Okay. And we do nice big print ads in both of those.
Okay.
Occasionally we'll be in some other power transmission books and things like that. I was recently talking to somebody about this. They were asking me if I thought it was still relevant, and I absolutely think the right trade books, the right magazines are still relevant. People do still read them. You better tighten in your focus and pick a couple.
Right.
There aren't as many left today anyway. A lot of them have disappeared. But the readership is there, and they're getting them at work a lot of times. They're not getting them at their house. They're getting them at work. So they are reading them. And they're sitting on their desk, and they're referencing them, and they're seeing them. So there is 100%, in my opinion, plenty of value to do real print ads still. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot to mention that, because that is a big part of our marketing.
Yeah. And have you engaged with an outside marketing agency, or is it all internal in terms of the branding and what you say and how you say it and all that?
Yeah. So I am driving that messaging. Okay. We outsource to a great company. They're a local company called Digital Hive Mind. So they're helping with our social media posts. We did a lot of like kind of funny satirical short videos this year with 2 of our guys, and they obviously were the creative minds behind that. But who Forest City Gear is, what we're doing, what we represent, our messaging, all of that is internal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I'm sure that like all things you're and I think you kind of alluded to this, you're evolving this, all the time. But especially in branding and marketing, like the exact message that you're providing, in those ads, and I'm sure, like you said, there's being that specialized and being more expensive. You're not it's not a race to the bottom competing on price type of thing. You're positioning yourself as like the premier solution, right? And that's a much better place to be playing in than the other end of the market.
Well, what do they say? Price, quality, delivery, pick any two. You
That's
can't
right.
have all three.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Now you mentioned the word values. Do you have? It wasn't in the context of a core company value, but do you have those?
We do. You can't see, but they're hanging right over my left shoulder.
Okay.
We also have them hanging out in the lobby and throughout the shop. And they're Forest City Gear core values. And they're just things that are important to us. There are a lot of them. I think there's 17 on there.
Okay.
But they're just things that we want to be committed to and things we want to remember to be committed to.
Mm-hmm.
So the very first one is families matter and always will. So
I love that one.
when something happens to somebody who works at Forest City Gear, it's the Forest City Gear family and we're a great team and all that. But I know that if any of us, had millions of dollars and could ride off into the sunset, we probably wouldn't be coming into the shop every day. I understand that. It's a job.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important. They're spending more time awake at Forest City Gear with their coworkers than they are at home with their families. So when something happens to them or to their wife or to their kid, we are going to work hard to show them that families matter and always will. And my parents were a really excellent example of that and what they would do for people who were faced with challenges. A lot of time it's health challenges with a kid or a spouse or whatever. And showing people that their families matter and that we recognize their families matter. Some of it's just being a little bit more flexible in your policies. And sometimes it's more tangible than that. Some of our other core values include that we think it's important to support continuing education, that we think it's important to spend a lot of training dollars on our employees, that we think it's important to support the arts. If we have enough leftover profit at the end of the year, we should, put money into the symphony or whatever. We think those things are important because we think we're part of a community that's important to support. And the people who live in this community, whether or not they work at Forest City Gear, are important to support. And the arts and education and local infrastructure are all part of that. So we encourage supporting those things.
That's fantastic. Did your parents get those formally put in place? Did your grandparents already kind of have it informally, or was this you?
So I was in charge of this project, but it was many years ago. It was long before my parents were gone. All three of us came to work every day together for many, many years. And the three of us worked on this project together. Gosh, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe. Time is strange sometimes.
Yeah, sure is. Yeah. And do you find that those values help to attract the types of employees that really, are a good cultural fit for you guys? And I'm just kind of alluding and moving into kind of workforce development and culture and, your team. And obviously, you have 123 probably excellent people that, push your company forward all the time. And I know how hard hiring is. Many people I interview say it's one of the hardest things they're dealing with right now is finding people. How do your values tie into your whole strategy of the people you hire?
Yeah, it's absolutely a part of that strategy because people are going to look at it And I want to be careful because I don't want to do like weird virtue signaling. But we're not perfect and we make mistakes. I personally make mistakes. We're not a perfect company, but we want people to know that we're out here truly trying to make the world a better place, as corny as it sounds. And we can't make the whole world a better place, but we can make Roscoe, Illinois a better place. We can make the greater state line area a better place, and we can make the gear industry a better place. So the type of folks that matters to are the type of folks that we want at Forest City Gear. So demonstrating that to people and illustrating that to people is important to us, and is something we're actively doing. Our turnover rate under 2 years is super high. It's really high. The work we do here is really hard. It's hard work, and it's work that is critical. I mean, when you're making flight critical parts for commercial airplanes or, launch critical parts for military and defense, or parts that are critical if you're trying to fix somebody's heart or whatever, they're really important parts that really matter. And it's a lot of pressure because our motto is excellence without exception. And that's important because it can truly affect things. But if you can make it here 2 years and you can kind of handle that pressure level and you can have that attention to detail, then our turnover rate goes virtually to zero. People almost never leave. So I think that speaks to your question in that it does help attract and retain those people. As long as and again, we're not perfect, but if we keep reminding of ourselves of what the end goals are, of what our parameters are, it's okay to make mistakes. We're going to keep moving forward. It makes a difference day after day.
Hey, everybody. What do you think of when I say OTD? Well, in making chips, we've got lots of acronyms to deal with, but OTD is on-time delivery. On-time delivery is part of Hill's mission. Deliver quality parts on time, every time. When I was shopping for an ERP system, I was looking for something that would ensure that we do that on a regular basis. Delivering jobs on time was something we struggled with, and I know that most shops struggle with. I think I saw recently that 70% of shops struggle with delivering parts on time. So the best decision I made in that, enter ProShop. Did you know that many of ProShop's customers quickly experience 95% or better on-time delivery rates with their customers? And now ProShop has a guide to help all shops, whether you're using ProShop or not. Visit ProShopERP.com/95. Again, that's ProShopERP/95 to get your copy today.
Yeah. And it makes the environment so much more enjoyable to be in when everyone's aligned on those values and we're all rowing the boat in the same direction, I guess you'd say, right?
Yeah.
So what are the biggest challenges you're facing today?
I mean, hiring is hard. There has been a huge, huge increase in employees' wages. And so what you could pay 4 or 5 years ago versus what you can pay now in our area, we have a handful of very large companies between Janesville, Wisconsin, and Rockford, Illinois, which are both about 10 miles on to the north and to the south. So, they'll pay people 50% higher and then just lay them off if they get slow. We're really not interested in that, and also offer an extremely rich benefits package. So when they just, literally overnight, well, not overnight, but over the course of a year and a half, increase wages by 50%, it's super hard to compete. Plus, skilled labor is getting harder to find. We believe strongly in growing your own, so we focus on that, but that's a long game, not a short game. And when you're trying to grow 10 to 15% year over year, or even a little more, you've got to hire from the outside, and you've got to hire people that can hit the ground running. And that is getting increasingly difficult for sure.
Yeah.
Outside of that, tariffs are, I would say, annoying, but not something where I'm losing sleep over.
Okay. And that's on the raw materials you're using, or? or
No,
tools you're
it's
buying,
really just on the
machines?
equipment we're buying.
The equipment, yeah. Okay.
Almost all of the great gear stuff is Swiss, German,
Mm-hmm.
mostly Swiss or German.
Yeah.
So, when you're paying a tariff on $1 million machine, that's not a lot of fun,
Mm-hmm.
but it is what it is right now. It's not anything for us to have to lose sleep over. That's for sure.
Got it. Okay. When you share I guess what I'm trying to get to here, when you're talking to your team, and an all hands meeting would be a very big meeting there. Maybe you have them or maybe you don't, but how much transparency do you have around how the company's doing or profitability, or, not when it's tough years, or what's the stance you've taken on sharing with the team?
So we do have all employee meetings. We actually just reinstated them. Most of the problem with all employee meetings is that it's cold here 9 months out of the year, and we have limited inside space that's not filled with machines. But we have one this Thursday. So we're not opening up the books and handing out the balance sheet. But we let people know when things are tough. We were growing several huge programs the last few years, and it required a lot of cash up front before we really started shipping some of the larger shipments for those projects. And so we were upfront with people like, hey, you're working a lot of overtime. We're really busy. I know it feels busy and feels great, but we're watching our pennies a little bit, because until these things start shipping in higher magnitude, our margins are pretty low. Or, we're certainly not being secretive, but I'm also not going over the SG&A breakdown.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
With that said, our family, my parents did this, and my sisters and I have the same approach. If we need to tighten the belt, we're starting with our family. Before we touch anything else, we're gonna give up things before anybody else is, for sure.
Yeah. Well, that comes with, I think, I was going to say not all business ownership, but business owners that have their hearts in the right place. That's where they start with their cutting.
Yeah.
I certainly lived through that myself. So you guys have clearly gotten to a size, again, that many shops do not. And with that comes different types of structures of, leadership and responsibility, and people responsible for different parts of the business. Maybe what does your org chart look like, and how many levels of management do you have, and are you working across multiple shifts? And just give us a little bit of the view, because I think a lot of companies struggle to, get past certain thresholds of growth, because they kind of need to reinvent the way the company operates, especially with people and, responsibilities and KPIs, and making sure all the parts of the business are working smoothly. Maybe just kind of share where you guys are at and how that's evolved over the years as you've grown.
Yeah. So when it comes to growth, that is really difficult, because you don't want to over promote your best technical people, but you also don't want to have managers in place that don't understand anything technical. So it's a really fine balancing act that we struggle with. You bring in, you think about bringing in an outside ops guy or gal, and maybe they have tons of machine shop experience, but we have, again, focused so long on this extreme specialization that it really is sometimes foreign sounding to them. And they're not going to be able to troubleshoot on technical issues, because we have made ourselves so extremely specialized that it gets to be very difficult to grow. So with that said, we try to have a working lead in every department. That in each technical department, that lead is going to work on the scheduling. Okay. So in most of our departments, that scheduling is done by machine. We don't have a lot of the same brand of machinery across departments, because We like that different machine types and different brands have different specialties and capabilities, I should say. So we're scheduling jobs based on which machines they can go into, and our leads are doing that. They're also helping the kind of centralized kitting for each jobs prior to, so that our setup techs aren't wasting a bunch of time searching down, gauges or whatever else. And then we have a salaried supervisor then, not for every department. Some are over a few departments if they're smaller. Maybe, in gear grinding, we have a lead, it's 3 people. In gear shaping, we have a lead, it's 6 people. So there's 1 supervisor for those 2.
Got it.
Other larger departments have their Hobbing's larger. Hobbing has its own salaried supervisor. So on the shop side, all those folks wrap up to a director of manufacturing operations. And then we have quality, estimating, and engineering. So kind of the technical side, non-machining side, wrapping up a director of technical operations, both of whom report directly to me. We have IT and accounting together. And then HR stands alone and also reports directly to me. So and we do have a third shift. I will tell you, if you're or any of your listeners have thought about third shift versus second shift, we had a second shift for years because we felt like the handoff from first to second was super important, because we were afraid third wouldn't be able to do independent setups. We switched about 2 years ago from second to third, and it is a struggle not having that handoff. That is valid, but it is far easier to find people who can work that overnight shift versus that afternoon into night shift. A lot of times it's families with young kids, and maybe mom is working a traditional 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and dad can work the overnight shift. So they're not doing daycare or having somebody to get the kids to the bus or off the bus or whatever.
Sure.
Or guys who have spouses who they do want to see, who are overnight nurses or whatever. We've just, for a variety of different reasons, we've had a lot easier time filling those third shift spots versus the second shift. But we couldn't justify having both.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. There's a lot of lifestyles where that would be a little bit preferable than being gone all evening and into the nighttime.
Yeah. So our third shift manager has been here 20 years or more, maybe. Kent is his name. He's great. But his kids are at the ages where, nobody's driving yet. He's helping coach sports. He can do sports practices, games at night, get everybody tucked into bed, head to work, get everybody up in the morning when he's getting home from work, breakfast, schools. His kids don't take the bus. He can take them to school. And then he can sleep while they're gone at work and school all day. And it's really working great for his family. So for the right circumstances, it is awesome, I think.
That's cool. Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. I know it seems like second is like the most obvious. And then if you have more demand, make a third. But this idea of skipping second entirely and going straight to go first and third, that's a novel. I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. All right. Well, we need to start wrapping it up here. If you could summarize for us just maybe the most strategic things beyond extreme specialization, but you're welcome to double down on that you guys have done over the decades that have, allowed you guys to succeed so well. What should others be striving for to kind of model what you've done to be successful?
Yeah, that is a great question. So I am a non-technical person running an extremely technical company. Due to having been just raised here and through osmosis, I understand the verbiage and I understand the processes, but I'm not allowed to touch any of those $1 million machines out there. I would crash them for sure.
Yeah.
So if you are a very technical person thinking, I can never grow my company because only I can do everything, that is your first mistake. Because I am a non-technical person running an extremely technical company. So set expectations for people. Set really, really high expectations for people. And then think, maybe I'll even set them a little higher. And then instead of expecting them to fail, believe that they're going to succeed. And again, I know I've said several corny things today, but people want you to think the best and expect the best of them, and they want to reach that. And I absolutely set a high goal, and I absolutely believe that everybody's going to reach it because they want to and they can, and the desire is there. So as long as you've got the right people working with you and working alongside of you and working in your shop, they're going to achieve those things. So if I had to give one piece of advice or say one thing, it would be that I know a lot of people got tied down by thinking they can't leave the shop floor to grow their business because they're the best technical one. And that might be true, but you still have to let other people do it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never grow otherwise.
Such good advice. That absolutely golden. And there's so many technical founders in this industry that feel like they are the best at all of it, and they have a hard time letting go. Yeah. But something done at 90% of what you can do, and you can go out and grow the business and work on strategy and work on growth and all the other important things, is better than you staying in the shop doing it at 100%.
Yeah. Or training people, teaching people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, Kika. Well, this has been a delightful conversation. If people want to learn more, reach out to you or learn more about Forest City Gear, where would you direct them?
Yeah, you can start at our website, which is www.forestcitygear.com, Forest with one R. There's a contact us icon that'll get you to an email form link, but there's also a lot of cool interactive stuff on our website to check out too.
Yeah, I love the history page and all the pictures, and even you as a baby, it looks like. So
yeah,
it's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for this time. It seems like you have a pretty inspiring, cool company there, and I love hearing your passion for it. And, having these multi-generational family businesses, and, just what an incredible part of your story that you almost sold but didn't. Right. And are now just doubled down on building this incredible company that's pretty inspiring. So thanks for sharing with us today.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me on. And anytime you're in the Chicagoland area, you're welcome to stop out for a tour. One of our core values is an open door policy.
Oh, there you go. I'm all about it. Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.